The scientists of the Galactic Assembly stared at the massive blue-green planet in disbelief. By all calculations, no intelligent species should have been able to evolve there. The holographic display in the center of the Grand Research Chamber showed a slowly rotating image of the world in question, labeled Earth in the ancient star charts. Compared to the delicate, carefully balanced homeworlds of the Galactic Assembly's member species, this planet was a chaotic, inhospitable nightmare. A tall, insectoid researcher clicked its mandibles, tapping at the glowing interface before it. The gravity alone should crush any large lifeforms into the ground. Another scientist, an amphibious being wrapped in a protective hydration suit, gestured with a webbed hand. Look at the weather patterns. The temperature fluctuations are extreme. Some regions are engulfed in snow and ice while others burn under relentless heat. A third alien, covered in shimmering, scale-like plating, let out a sharp hissing sound. This planet is riddled with geological instability. Earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanic eruptions, it is in a constant state of upheaval. There is no way a sentient species could have formed here. And yet, the data was irrefutable. Their long-range scans had picked up complex energy signatures, vast networks of artificial structures, and unmistakable signs of an advanced civilization. Against all logic, intelligent life had not only emerged on this world, it was thriving. Seated at the head of the research assembly, Mission Commander Vilek crossed his arms, his expression unreadable. Unlike the rest of the scientists, he was not impressed. Perhaps we are misinterpreting the data, he said coolly. If there is life, it must be primitive, barely clinging to survival in whatever habitable pockets exist. A technician activated a zoom function on the holographic display, focusing on one of the planet's many landmasses. The image shifted, revealing massive structures, towers of glass and steel stretching high into the sky, vast roadways filled with rapid-moving vehicles, and entire cities glowing with artificial light. A stunned silence filled the room. One of the younger scientists gasped, their antennae quivering. They build upward? Even under that crushing gravity? Vilek's expression darkened. He leaned forward, narrowing his eyes at the data pouring in. This changes everything, he muttered. The Galactic Assembly had encountered countless species throughout the ages, but never had they seen a civilization rise from such a brutal, unforgiving world. Prepare an observation mission, Vilek finally ordered. I want eyes on the ground immediately. We need to understand how these creatures survive. As the room erupted into frantic activity, a single thought lingered in the minds of all present. What kind of beings could endure a planet like this? The research vessel hovered in the upper atmosphere of Earth, hidden behind a cloak of advanced camouflage. Inside, the alien scientists worked feverishly, gathering data on the planet's inhabitants. Every scan, every observation, only deepened their confusion. This defies all logic, muttered researcher Keleth, his elongated fingers dancing over the glowing control panel. His species, the Ilvani, came from a low-gravity world where the lightest strain could cause injury. He couldn't fathom how the creatures below functioned. The gravity alone should make movement excruciating, yet these humans are running? A holographic display projected scenes from different parts of the planet. The researchers watched as humans engaged in activities that should have been impossible. One feed focused on a group of children chasing a ball across an open field, their limbs moving effortlessly under gravity that should have pinned them to the ground. Another showed construction workers lifting heavy materials with nothing but their own bodies. One worker casually hauled a steel beam onto his shoulder as if it weighed nothing at all. They have no exoskeletons, noted a reptilian scientist, his head tilting in fascination. No additional muscle support structures. No external stabilizers. And yet, another projection appeared, a human climbing the face of a sheer rock wall, using only fingers and feet to grip the jagged surface. Keleth felt his throat tighten. By the stars, they do this for sport? Commander Vilek, standing near the main viewing screen, scoffed. There must be an explanation. Perhaps they rely on artificial supports, hidden technology to counteract their environment. The research team quickly ran a deeper scan. No cybernetic enhancements, reported an amphibious scientist, his translucent skin shifting colors in distress. Their bodies have adapted naturally to this environment. Their bones are denser than ours, their muscle fibers tightly compacted. They are built for this, another whispered. The silence in the observation deck was almost reverent. The Galactic Assembly had long believed that survival depended on a controlled, stable environment. Every civilized species in the known galaxy had emerged from planets with mild conditions, gentle climates, and low gravity. Yet, here were humans, born into chaos and hardship, shaped by violent natural forces, and instead of struggling to endure, they had mastered it. A warning beep interrupted the moment. A researcher glanced at the new data and hesitated before speaking. We have just received a report from another observation team stationed near this planet's orbital path. Vilek turned. And? The researcher's mandibles twitched. Humans have already reached space. A ripple of disbelief passed through the room. They broke free of this planet's gravitational pull? That should be impossible. Vilek narrowed his eyes. And yet, they have done it. For the first time in his long career, he felt something unexpected coil in his chest. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was fear. What kind of species not only survived a world like this, but conquered it? The research vessel remained in geostationary orbit, its crew now utterly engrossed in their study of Earth's inhabitants. The reports from their fellow observers had confirmed it. Humans had defied their planet's crushing gravity and launched themselves into space. Commander Vilek, still grappling with this revelation, ordered a full comparative analysis. Show me their physiology, he demanded. A shimmering hologram appeared in the center of the observation deck, displaying a full anatomical breakdown of a human male. The data streams flickered as the computer ran side-by-side comparisons with the various species in the Galactic Assembly. Keleth, still shaken, pointed to the human skeletal structure. Their bones, they are far denser than ours. Almost unbreakable by our standards. Look at these microfractures, they seem to sustain damage constantly, yet instead of weakening, they heal stronger. This is madness, Vilek muttered. A body should not function like this. They shouldn't even be standing under these conditions, added a reptilian scientist, running his clawed fingers over the holographic interface. Yet they don't just stand, they run, they jump, they climb. Vilek narrowed his eyes. And they launched themselves into space. The room fell silent again as they processed this. A historical revelation. One of the younger researchers, a pale-skinned amphibious being, hesitated before speaking. Perhaps it would help to compare human history with our own. At a nod from Vilek, the displays shifted, pulling up archived data from their own species. Their civilization, like most others in the assembly, had progressed in a predictable manner. Technological advancement had brought comfort, and as comfort increased, hardships had all but vanished. Their ancestors had once endured challenges, but they had long since eliminated struggle from their lives. They had created a world without pain. They had eliminated physical hardship. And as a result, they had stagnated. The realization was uncomfortable. Meanwhile, the data on humanity told a very different story. They watched footage of humans surviving extreme conditions, blizzards, deserts, deep-sea pressures, volcanic heat. They saw explorers willingly venturing into the unknown, climbers scaling mountains without oxygen, endurance runners crossing entire continents. A new clip appeared on the screen, humans on a frozen mountain, battered by howling winds, frost clinging to their beards. One collapsed, but the others didn't flee in panic. They carried their injured companion to safety. Vilek's jaw tightened. They don't just survive their environment. They overcome it. Another video, humans training in extreme conditions, running with weighted packs, submerging themselves in ice, pushing their bodies to the brink of collapse. Keleth let out a slow breath. They actively seek out suffering. The gravity anomaly. Commander. The voice of the ship's AI broke the stunned silence. Vilek turned sharply. What is it? We have just received new findings from the gravitational analysis. Humans are not only defying their planet's gravity, they seem to have evolved because of it. The screen flashed with a new set of calculations. We compared human muscle density and bone strength to various species in the assembly. If any of us were placed on Earth for more than a few hours, our skeletons would collapse under the pressure. Even species from higher gravity worlds would struggle. The humans, however, their biology has adapted to turn stress into growth. The realization sent a ripple of disbelief through the room. This isn't just adaptation, Keleth whispered. This is a survival strategy. Vilek exhaled sharply. We need to meet one of them. The room went still. Keleth hesitated. Not a leader? Not a scientist? No, Vilek said, eyes locked on the human construction workers they had observed earlier. I want to study an ordinary human. The alien research team had observed humans for weeks, meticulously gathering data. They had witnessed feats of endurance and adaptability that defied all logic. Now, it was time for direct interaction. But instead of seeking out a world leader, a renowned scientist, or an elite athlete, Commander Vilek had made an unexpected choice. We need to study an ordinary human, he repeated. Keleth frowned. Why? Wouldn't it be more beneficial to analyze one of their strongest specimens? Vilek shook his head. No. If all humans possess these traits, we must confirm that their resilience is not limited to a select few. We need to understand if their ability to thrive in hardship is a universal characteristic. After scanning human settlements, they decided on their subject, an average construction worker. Observing a human at work. The aliens concealed their true forms, utilizing holographic disguises to appear as human scientists conducting research. With their cover in place, they approached the man, who was currently lifting heavy steel beams at a construction site. The human wiped sweat from his brow and looked up as the disguised aliens approached. He was neither particularly large nor unusually muscular, yet he handled massive loads with ease. Vilek hesitated before speaking. Excuse us. We are conducting a study on human physical capabilities. Would you be willing to answer some questions? The construction worker squinted at them, then grinned. A study? On me? Yes. He shrugged. Sure. Why not? The aliens exchanged a glance. No hesitation. No suspicion. Just a casual acceptance of the unknown. The mystery of human strength. Keleth activated a hidden scanner as the worker continued lifting beams. The readings shocked him. Impossible, Keleth whispered under his breath. The man's bones displayed tiny stress fractures, something that should indicate damage, but instead of weakening, his skeletal structure had reinforced itself. His muscles, while not much larger than an average galactic assembly species, were far denser, designed for prolonged exertion. More baffling, his heart rate and breathing remained steady, even after repeated lifting. Vilek cleared his throat. Excuse me, but, how are you able to do this every day? Carrying such weight, enduring extreme temperatures, working long hours? The construction worker chuckled. I dunno. Just gotta get the job done, you know? Keleth frowned. But surely, the strain must wear on you. Doesn't it cause damage? The man flexed his fingers. Maybe a little. But you get used to it. Your body gets stronger. Stronger. Not weaker. The aliens had assumed that hardship would degrade the human body. Yet the data showed the opposite. Stress and struggle made them more resilient. Vilek's voice was quiet. Your body adapts to suffering? The construction worker raised an eyebrow. Well, I wouldn't call it suffering. It's just life. The psychological anomaly. The aliens continued their questioning, trying to understand the human mindset. You experience pain, yet you do not avoid it. You endure stress, yet you continue forward. You face adversity, yet you laugh. At that last comment, the man smirked. What's the alternative? Cry about it? The team was stunned into silence. Kelleth whispered, he treats hardship as normal. A new theory emerges. As they wrapped up their study, the construction worker clapped Vilek on the shoulder. Well, good luck with your research, he said, grinning. Humans are tough. You'll figure it out. The aliens watched him walk away, still processing everything they had learned. Vilek exhaled. We came here thinking humans simply survived this brutal planet. Kelleth nodded. But now I wonder. Vilek finished the thought. Perhaps they were forged by it. Back aboard their observation vessel, the alien research team sat in stunned silence, reviewing the data collected from their encounter with the human construction worker. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't an athlete. Just an ordinary laborer, Kelleth muttered, still processing. And yet, Vilek added, his body showed signs of continuous adaptation to stress. Instead of weakening over time, he became stronger. It was a revelation that forced the aliens to reconsider everything they thought they knew about intelligent species. Most civilizations in the Galactic Assembly had evolved in stable environments, optimizing for safety and efficiency. Struggle was something to be avoided, hardship an enemy to be conquered. But humans sought it out. A species addicted to challenge. The research team expanded their study, now shifting focus to human psychology. They dove into history, examining explorers who had willingly ventured into the unknown, warriors who had pushed past their limits, and survivors who had endured the worst hardships imaginable. The data was clear. Humans had crossed vast oceans before they knew what lay beyond. They climbed the highest mountains, not for survival, but simply to say they had done it. They ran grueling marathons and competed in dangerous sports that served no purpose beyond testing their own limits. Why? One researcher finally asked, baffled. Why would they choose this? The debate among the Galactic Assembly. As reports were compiled, a debate erupted among the Galactic Assembly. The data had been transmitted to their homeworlds, sparking intense discussions. These creatures are reckless, one council member declared. A species that embraces suffering is dangerous. But they are also resilient, countered another. Perhaps there is wisdom in their ways. The arguments continued. Was humanity a threat to be contained, or a lesson to be learned? Meanwhile, the research team continued their study. The moment that shocked the aliens. The final test came when they observed what they assumed was the pinnacle of human challenge-seeking behavior, extreme sports. They studied wingsuit flyers launching themselves off cliffs, free divers plunging into the ocean's depths on a single breath, and ultramarathon runners enduring pain for hours on end. Each new discovery left them more astounded. And then they witnessed something that made even the skeptics pause. A group of elderly humans, some well past the age of 80, participating in marathons. Kelleth nearly dropped his tablet. They continue this even after their bodies begin to fail? Vilek watched an old man, his face lined with years, steadily running alongside competitors half his age. There was pain in his expression, but also something else, determination. And when he crossed the finish line, instead of collapsing in exhaustion, he laughed. For a long moment, the aliens said nothing. Then one of the younger researchers spoke. Perhaps humans don't just survive adversity, she whispered. Perhaps they require it. A shift in perspective. That single moment shattered centuries of Galactic Assembly thinking. Their own species had grown soft in their safe, controlled environments. They had eliminated struggle, and in doing so, had also eliminated growth. Humans, on the other hand, embraced hardship. They actively sought challenges, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. Vilek leaned back in his chair, realization dawning. Perhaps they don't just survive. He glanced at the data one last time before finishing his thought. Perhaps they are built to conquer. Back on the Galactic Assembly's research vessel, the alien scientists were no longer merely studying humans, they were trying to understand them. The discovery that humans did not just survive adversity, but actively sought it out, had shaken the very foundation of their beliefs. They had assumed that hardship was something to be avoided. Humans, however, seemed to treat it as fuel. The more they struggled, the stronger they became. A pattern unlike any other. Keleth, still skeptical, ordered a deeper review of human history. He wanted to see if this trait had always existed or if it was a recent adaptation. The findings were staggering. Across thousands of years, through wars, natural disasters, and self-inflicted suffering, humanity had never stopped pushing forward. Even when given the chance to live comfortably, some still sought new challenges. Explorers had set sail without knowing if they would ever return. Inventors had risked their lives to push the boundaries of technology. Survivors had rebuilt civilizations from the ashes of devastation. And then came another revelation: this relentless drive wasn't limited to the physically strong. The human body, built for endurance. The research team took a closer look at human biology, comparing it to their own species. What they found was perplexing. Humans had an unusual muscle structure that allowed them to endure extreme stress without breaking down permanently. Their bones, instead of weakening under pressure, became denser over time. Their immune systems adapted to new threats rather than succumbing immediately. But what truly astounded the scientists was how humans recovered. Unlike most species, whose injuries resulted in permanent weakness, humans grew stronger after trauma. Broken bones healed tougher. Muscles torn from exertion rebuilt with greater endurance. Keleth reviewed the findings, shaking his head. Even when damaged, they evolve. But it was more than just biology. A mindset that defied logic. While reviewing human psychology, the team stumbled upon something even more shocking: self-imposed suffering. They observed humans willingly subjecting themselves to immense physical and mental challenges for no reason other than personal growth. Some humans starved themselves to test their limits through fasting. Others endured harsh conditions, climbing mountains, trekking through deserts, without necessity. Athletes pushed their bodies to the absolute brink, chasing records only to break them again. Why? Keleth exhaled in frustration. Pain should be a deterrent. Suffering should make them stop. Vilek, now fascinated rather than afraid, shook his head. Not for them. Pain is just part of the process. A debate that could change the galaxy. The Galactic Assembly, still divided on whether humans were a threat or a phenomenon to be admired, scheduled an emergency meeting. Some believed humanity's relentless nature made them dangerous. What would happen if they ever set their sights beyond their own world? What if their unstoppable drive led them to conquest? Others saw something different. They saw a species that, unlike the Assembly's own civilizations, had never stagnated. While other galactic races had long since reached their technological peaks, humans continued to advance, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. One council member made an observation that silenced the room. We have eliminated struggle from our own worlds, and because of that, we have stopped growing. Keleth clenched his jaw, suddenly feeling uneasy. Had the Galactic Assembly weakened itself by avoiding hardship? The decision that would change everything. After weeks of deliberation, the assembly finally reached a conclusion. The humans were not to be feared. They were to be studied, and learned from. More than that, some assembly leaders began to wonder. Could their own civilizations adopt some of humanity's resilience? Could they, too, embrace hardship as a path to growth? And so, they made a decision. They would make contact. But not as observers. As students. The Galactic Assembly's decision to initiate contact with humanity was historic. But unlike previous encounters with new species, where the Assembly positioned itself as mentors or overseers, this time, they approached as students. For the first time in their long existence, the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy admitted they had something to learn. The revelation. A delegation of high-ranking alien officials descended upon Earth. Their ships, sleek and otherworldly, landed in a neutral zone, far from government facilities or military bases. This was not a show of power, it was an act of humility. When the first transmission was broadcast globally, it stunned the world. We have watched you. We have studied you. And we do not understand you. But we wish to. As the message spread, humanity braced for what sounded like an ominous warning. But the following words changed everything. In all our travels, we have never encountered a species that does not fear hardship but embraces it. We do not come to conquer. We come to learn. World leaders rushed to respond, scrambling for diplomatic solutions, but the aliens weren't interested in bureaucracy. Instead, they wanted to speak to ordinary humans. Back to the construction worker. Among the first chosen for direct communication was the same construction worker the aliens had previously observed. His strength, resilience, and casual attitude toward struggle had baffled them. Now, he sat face to face with the most intelligent beings in the galaxy. A holographic projection of Keleth flickered in front of him. "We must know," the alien scientist said, his voice filled with genuine curiosity. "Why do you seek struggle? Why not avoid pain when given the choice?" The construction worker scratched his chin, thinking. "You ever go to the gym?" he asked. The aliens exchanged confused glances. He smirked. "We lift weights, right? Heavy ones. It hurts. It's exhausting. But we do it on purpose because it makes us stronger." Vilek leaned forward, intrigued. "You do this willingly?" "Of course," the worker said. "No pain, no gain." Keleth's expression darkened as he processed this. "But why? What purpose does it serve?" The worker shrugged. "Life's gonna throw problems at you no matter what. You can either run from them or get strong enough to handle them. That's just how we live." The Assembly's awakening. The word struck something deep in the aliens. Their own civilizations had eliminated hardship. They had perfected comfort, efficiency, and safety. But in doing so, they had removed the very thing that drove progress. For centuries, the Assembly had wondered why their societies had stagnated. Now, they had their answer. They had avoided challenges for so long that they had stopped evolving. Humanity had never made that mistake. The galactic shift. Inspired by what they had learned, the Assembly made an unprecedented decision. Across their many worlds, they began reintroducing controlled struggle, not as a punishment, but as a means of strengthening their people. Planets that had once been sterilized of all dangers saw the return of natural challenges. Education systems were restructured to encourage resilience and risk-taking rather than just knowledge retention. Entire civilizations began embracing the philosophy that hardship was not an obstacle, it was the path forward. And humanity? They continued living as they always had, pushing boundaries, breaking records, and thriving in adversity. The final lesson. Before departing, Vilek met with the construction worker one last time. You've changed the galaxy, the alien admitted. The worker laughed. I just told you what we already knew. Vilek hesitated. And what is that? The worker looked up at the towering alien ship, then back at Vilek. That the only way to get stronger is to keep pushing.